The fall of Constantinople, the end of an era, the beginning of a new one. By the year 1453, the Byzantine Empire, the last surviving remnant of the once mighty Roman Empire, had been reduced to a shadow of its former glory. For centuries, Constantinople had been one of the richest and most influential cities in the world. But now it stood as the final stronghold of a shrinking empire. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire was growing stronger with each passing year, expanding across both Anatolia and the Balkans. At just 21 years old, Sultan Mehmed II set his sights on a goal that would change the course of history forever: the conquest of Constantinople. This would not be just another siege. Standing before him was a city protected by legendary walls that had withstood countless attacks for nearly 1,000 years. The Byzantines trusted their massive fortifications. The Ottomans relied on determination, innovation, and military technology that would reshape history. Two great powers were preparing for one of the most significant confrontations the world had ever seen. In 1451, the young Sultan Mehmed II ascended the Ottoman throne with an extraordinary ambition: to capture Constantinople. For generations, rulers had dreamed of conquering the city, yet its mighty walls had always kept invaders at bay. For Mehmed, however, this was not merely a dream, it was a carefully planned mission. His first objective was to gain complete control of the Bosporus. To achieve this, he ordered the construction of Rumeli Fortress. Built in just a few months, the fortress sent a clear message to Byzantium: the Ottomans were preparing for war. Mehmed placed his faith not only in the size of his army, but also in technology. Under the direction of the Hungarian engineer Urban, enormous bombards were cast, among the largest cannons ever seen in the 15th century. As thousands of soldiers gathered alongside supplies and siege equipment, the Ottoman army steadily advanced toward the walls of Constantinople. Ahead of them stood one of the strongest defensive systems in the medieval world: the seemingly impregnable walls of Constantinople. One of history's greatest sieges was about to begin. On April 6, 1453, the Ottoman army arrived before the walls of Constantinople. Under the command of Sultan Mehmed II, a massive force assembled outside the city. Thousands of soldiers, siege engines, and giant cannons stood ready to challenge walls that had defended the city for centuries. Inside the city, the last Byzantine emperor, Constantine XI, prepared alongside his soldiers for the desperate defense ahead. For them, this was not merely a battle, it was a fight for the survival of their empire. Constantinople's greatest advantage lay in its formidable defenses. The legendary Theodosian walls had protected the city from countless invasions for hundreds of years. But this time, they faced an unprecedented threat. The Ottoman bombards unleashed devastating firepower, unlike anything the defenders had ever experienced. Every thunderous shot shook the ancient walls and spread fear throughout the city. Meanwhile, the Ottoman navy attempted to pressure the city from the sea, while the Byzantines stretched a massive iron chain across the entrance to the Golden Horn, blocking enemy ships from entering. The siege had begun. On one side stood the thousand-year legacy of Byzantium. On the other, the determination of the young Sultan Mehmed. The fate of Constantinople was beginning to unfold before its walls. For days, the Ottoman army continued its relentless assault on the city's defenses. Yet one major obstacle remained. The great chain guarding the Golden Horn prevented Ottoman ships from entering the harbor. The Byzantines believed this defense made the harbor untouchable, but Sultan Mehmed devised a bold and unexpected strategy. If the fleet could not pass through the sea, it would travel across the land. In a single night, Ottoman engineers laid wooden tracks across the hills of Galata. Using animal power and lubricated wooden sleds, dozens of ships were carefully pulled overland toward the Golden Horn. When morning came, the Byzantine defenders could hardly believe what they saw. Ottoman warships were now floating inside the harbor they had believed was completely secure. The maneuver was more than a military success. It delivered a devastating psychological blow. Confidence within the city began to crumble, and it seemed that no wall or barrier could stop the Ottoman advance. Mehmed's daring strategy became one of the turning points of the entire siege. The road to the fall of Constantinople had become much shorter. As the weeks passed, conditions inside Constantinople grew increasingly desperate. Ottoman artillery relentlessly pounded the ancient walls, opening larger breaches with every passing day. Although vastly outnumbered, the Byzantine defenders fought with extraordinary determination. Emperor Constantine XI Stowe